Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 9. So The Flash Season 9 is still a good amount of months away from airing from this point in time, like what, 5, maybe 6, something like that. However, the commencement of filming for the ninth and final season of the show is not far away. That's only about like 3, maybe 4 weeks away or something like that. So we should start to get some information, starting to like trickle out in regards to what is going on in the final season, what they're aiming to do within it, as well as what people are in the final season, like returning characters, new characters, everything like that. But leading up to not only the filming of the season 9, but of course the airing of it as well, we have many questions in regards to story, characters, and other various things. So in this video, we're going to go over some of the questions that you guys have had around all of that, and I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. But of course, let me know in the comment section down below any other questions, as well as your opinions on the stuff we go over in this video. Always curious to read what you guys are thinking. And of course, if you are going to enjoy the video, want to show support, looking forward to the final season of The Flash, everything like that, want to drop a like on the video to show support and excitement. So the first question comes from Aman Awise. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you think with season 9, if it were to be the last season, obviously this question came in before the news, that the last graphic novel throughout the season should consist of the origin story of Reverse Flash and just wrap the show up full circle with events leading up to the night of Barry's mother's death and ended off with the night of her death? I'd like to see it. It depends really how they want to handle it, because you got to remember there is only 13 episodes now for this final season. Like, I think if we had maybe like 16 plus, then you could do something, and could consist of the origin story of Reverse Flash and leading up to those moments and make the show full circle. But with only 13 episodes, it depends if they want to go down like an Arrow season 8 sort of route, where you had like like a rotation of like returning characters and fan favorites and stuff like that. That partakes or plays into a larger story for that season. I don't know if a Reverse Flash origin story would fit into that, unless Reverse Flash is once again going to be the final villain. I've always said that should be the case, but the season 8 finale, The Flash, the season finale we just had, sort of made me go, I don't know, would they do Reverse Flash back to back? I just don't know if they would. Obviously, unless it's a completely different version of Reverse Flash, like a younger version, which you would assume would be the case if it's going to lead to the night of Nora's death. So it's a wait and find out. I just don't know if they're going to go down that, just because you would be using a completely new actor most likely for that younger Reverse Flash, unless it is Matt Letcher. But I could see them easily just focusing on what they set up at the end of last season, and then maybe having just like returning characters and having fun with them. But I'm sure we'll find out once they start filming. I think once we start seeing the first, 2 or 3 episodes filming and maybe seeing who's in them, we might get a general gist as to what they're going for. Next up, we have Mika's, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, Mika's Place. I remember before season 8 aired that there was supposed to be one villain in the season who was horror-based. Was Deathstorm supposed to be that? So from what I can gather, yes. Obviously, they had the aspect of like what was going on with Reverse Flash, like the negative side, and it was a bit over the top, but that wasn't really like horror. But like they did add some like horror elements and cliches to that Deathstorm and Black Flame arc. So I don't think Eric Wallace specifically said, oh yeah, the Deathstorm one was the horror thing I was teasing, but we can just assume that was the case, because it was the thing that most felt like horror attempts throughout the season, like both through like jump scares and everything like that. So I'm gonna say yes, because I just assume that's the case. Next up, Swiss Goat. Are they continuing the graphic novel style we've seen the past few seasons, or will they go back to the traditional style of one overarching storyline? Or maybe a little both, like what they did with the Iris stuff last season. And like I said with the first question, we've only got 13 episodes. Like, I'd be very surprised if we had a graphic novel format, just because you're not going to get 3 graphic novels in 13 episodes unless they're really jam-packed, like what you get 4 episodes each and then maybe a finale in the season, or like an opening episode and then 3 graphic novels of 4 episodes each, to add up to that 13 episodes. So I don't know if we'll get that graphic novel format, just because I think it'd be so jam-packed. So I could easily see something where it is like an overarching storyline, where maybe everything that's happening in each episode, like towards the beginning, isn't necessarily overly relevant to what the final overarching storyline is, but it's setting it up in some way, shape, or form. So I'd expect that over the graphic novel format just because of the amount of episodes that we're going to have in this final season. Next up, we have the fanboy, the singular only fanboy. Do you think we will ever see the Arrowverse version of Superman again, since we now know that Superman and Lois isn't on Earth Prime? Could we see more of the Hall of Justice? The Hall of Justice is always like an open thing that they could easily go to if they wanted to. I mean, we got it last season in Armageddon, so it's not too much of an effort for them to go back there and do something if they want to. I think getting Superman in there is an issue. I think that you could maybe get him in the series finale. It just really depends what the Superman and Lois filming schedule is. That was an issue in the past, so I could it could also be the case going forward with this. It really depends what's going on. I think if Tyler Hoechlin, who plays Superman, of course, if you didn't know, if he's got some free time, they will try and move heaven and earth, I think, to try and get him in there, especially if there's other characters coming back for an episode where you can have Superman in there. I guess it just depends on what the setting is, but I'd love to see that version of Superman back in there, or just Superman interacting with the Flash, maybe some other heroes again, just because it was so short-lived. So I think we'd all love to see that happen again. So fingers crossed we can get to that point in the final season of the Flash where something along those lines does happen. Next up, we have Zap King David, and they ask, if season 8 turns out to be the last appearance for the Reverse Flash, would you be satisfied with how his character ended? I think for the most part, I'd say yes. I guess it was a bit weird that he finished in like the black suit, like that weird, not very great black suit. But I mean, it was fitting, I think, how he ended in regards to how he ended himself. Like Barry assisted in it, but Barry didn't use his own lightning or his own phasing hand to kill Eobard. Like he just used Eobard's own powers against him by sucking all that power back in or reverting that power back into him to the point where he pretty much imploded or like just evaporated into like a black hole of sorts. So it wasn't like the most satisfying, but I think it was fitting. That's probably the best way to do it. I think the most satisfying would be like a classic speedster battle or something along those lines, but those can only be so creative. Like this is like a limit to how creative and over the top they can be, especially on TV. So I'd say, yeah, I was satisfied, but not to the ultimate extent, like we you see with some other villains and how they end and stuff like that. But I'm not mad about it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be annoyed by it, in a couple of years' time or anything like that. The second last question comes from Rintaro Tamita Duarte. Hopefully that's right. The main reason I stopped watching The Flash is because the story got so convoluted. Season 1 will always hold a special place in me for its simplicity and its heart and the emotional weight it carries as its own series. My question is, what would the final season do to rope me back in? Well, firstly, I don't think the story ever got so convoluted. It's just that The Flash is a story-based TV show. So there's like character-driven shows, like Legends, for example, very character-driven. What's another, like a DC, like Doom Patrol, extremely character-driven. Like you don't really remember the stories within those seasons, but you remember, like you watch it for the characters specifically. But The Flash has always been a story-driven show. And you said the word convoluted. I don't think that's the right word. I think it's just more because it's story-based. If you're not feeling what the story is in that season, and specifically the villain attached to that story, you're probably not going to be attached to what's going on at all, regardless of how much you like Cisco and Barry and everything like that. So, for example, you saw that a lot with like season 4. People didn't like Dhawan, what the story they were doing there, so they were completely detached from that season, and nothing really brought them back into it. Season 7 is a good example. Season 5 is a great example because of Cicada and how heavy that was throughout the entire season, and the story just really wasn't that gripping. So that's, I think, the issue there. So for the final season, I think it's about potentially making it about the characters while also trying to look back at the stories that most people enjoy throughout the run of the series, whether it was season 1, season 2, a season 8, a season 6, whatever it might be, and like getting the feel of that and attaching it to the story for the final season while also making it very character focused as well. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially with so many characters, especially if you bring people back, but I think it's the best way that you could rope people in that maybe will stop watching X amount of years ago. So yeah. And finally, Chips Lol, I think that's what the username is, asked, you think there's a chance that the negative speed force will be a constant in season 9, like it'll hop between hosts? Because I was thinking it could be how we get Cobalt Blue and Red Death, though Eddie and Bloodwork becoming avatars of it. So I guess meaning Eddie Cobalt Blue, Bloodwork Red Death. That'd be interesting. I don't know. Once again, it comes down to the episode length. Like, it matters like how much do I want to focus on one certain thing, one character, a bunch of characters, and who the true villain is of that final season, because you're not only telling that story, you're also wrapping up the story of the entire show as a whole. So maybe they could do that. Obviously, the setup for the end of the season seems to hint at Cobalt Blue, and they also, like Barry says, like the negative Speed Force will have to find another avatar. So whether that avatar is then connected to what like the blue gem thing we saw at the end of the season, or the blue gem thing is its own connection to a villain, and then the negative Speed Force is another villain, which is sort of what you're hinting at there. So that'd be interesting if it did hop, but then again, are you getting into sort of like devote territory? And as in the previous question I was saying, like, will people be disconnected from that if it just keeps hopping around and you don't get one true person who's harnessing it? I don't know, unless it's like a bunch of people get the negative Speed Force and then there's one person like sort of hunting it down and taking it, to become like the ultimate negative Speed Force user, which would sort of be redeeming the Godspeed story, because that's probably what they should have been doing with the Godspeed story, but they never really committed with it at all. So they could redeem that through a character like Red Death or something like that, that's taking negative Speed Force from other people that are attached to that and like killing them in the process, and then making them even more powerful throughout that. That'd be pretty, big and scary and stuff like that. So they could go down that route. But once again, it just really comes down to that episode number. Like, I'm a bit disappointed it's only 13. I would have liked 15 or 16. But then again, maybe that's what they agreed on. They think that's the best way to go about it. So for us, it's a wait and find out. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like and show support. Let me know your opinions and more questions in the comment section down below if you have any. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.